feel like a redneck.
Welcome back to Fixing with Friends. Today we're on chapter 9, I think. I'm going to say I think a lot because it's been a while. Anyway, we're on chapter 9 of the $300 painting adventure where I attempt to paint the Datsun for as little money as possible. And it's going okay, at least so far. This is where we start getting into the bit that drags on, or dragged on for me. I cut down a lot for you guys. Anyway, so we're going through, the process for myself, what worked, what didn't, and I'm going to make my recommendations for anyone painting their own anything, kind of throughout. So, let's get to work. Alright, now we're going to see if acetone is going to cut it for stripping the paint off the car, or if I'm going to have to find something else entirely. Hopefully nothing expensive, or that's going to dissolve the actual metal of the car. Alright, it does not seem to be very effective. Could just be this method of application. The other part of the problem is it just evaporates basically instantly. Alright, let's try this. We'll let that sit for a little while and then... No, it's evaporated. So at best, it'll remove like one coat of paint at a time. Good at cleaning the dirt up though. I'm definitely gonna have to buy something else. Yeah, this is going to take forever this way. Well, I might as well sand the whole thing while it's out, but, or once over at least. But yeah, I'm not going to be able to do much today until I get a better paint stripper. Well, as you can see, sanding it didn't really do much of anything, even with 80 grit. So my suggestion would be, if you want to sand your vehicle or anything, start with, you got to have a good random orbital sander. It's got to be probably 40 grit and work your way up to 300. And then, you know, realistically, sanding it's better for if you just want to recolor it or touch up the paint. You know, pull off the clear coat so you have something good that you can actually paint on without the paint just falling off. But I wanted to take it down to bare metal, so that's why I went with stripper. Alright, stripping begins. I apologize, the lighting's going to be a little questionable, but I only have so much time and so many lights. I have to do this really fast so I can actually cover it. Alright, now I'll have to cover that part of it. Well, if nothing else, it's sticky. Well, I have to do that spot. Good morning. Let's take a peek and see what we've got. trick I do. It's not really amazing. I like to use the gloves. Alright, so taking a look, you can see it did something, but not a whole lot. It's only taken one layer of paint off, and only in the places where it wasn't as well bonded, because I was doing this where it was kind of cold at the time. But when I did it in warm weather, it didn't pull off. And yes, it works better when it's covered with plastic and this bottom part wasn't, but over here was also uncovered by plastic. So as I touched on in the paint stripper comparison video, I really should have just used all of what I had for the easy strip on one area of the car so that I could apply it really thick, and then it would get through all the layers, and then just start on another area at another time. But instead I went across the entire car and sort of worked down through the layers, reapplying it however many times. So don't do that. As I said, one area at a time is probably best for everyone's sake. Onward. Well, I need a new battery. So with a new battery, it's doing more, but it's just not spinning fast enough. So I'm going to go ahead and say this Ryobi One Plus, or whatever it's called, P205, is not nearly as good as the DeWalt, because just examining torque, I can hold it and it won't even spin. It's also got 1300 rotations per minute compared to the DeWalt, I don't know, DC 759. I can hold it, but not well. Not like this, where I can easily hold it. It's also 1500 RPM. See how it does. Still not quite fast enough. So the wire brush is polishing the rust up fairly nicely, but I think I need to strip the paint first, or else it's just going to waste a whole bunch of my time even with a core drill. I'll give it a try. So I think this drill will only have more torque and not more speed, but we'll give it a try. Worst case, I'll just make do with the DeWalt and then strip the paint. If anything, it's slower than the Ryobi, but it has enough torque that I can just push harder. So the reason that was rusting apparently is because it was a Bondo job, not particularly well sealed either. So moisture got in the back, and I'm guessing it wasn't painted, so I guess we'll find out how big it was. Well, it's at least that big. Alright, well hopefully I can fix it with metal now that I've carved it to pieces. Oh, that was a waste. Wonder if I can scoop it up. Success! Alright, let's see how this goes and adjust from there. Need a roller. I tried getting a roller. It doesn't work. Sticky substances, apparently, it just doesn't roll. It slides. So no point in trying that. I've already done it.
I think you get the point. I don't know what it is. There's something about breathing poison for hours a day that just makes me not feel like working on my car.
That was kind of pointless of me. Fun. Looks like half of my face is coming off. Well, hopefully it isn't. I mean, it's a possibility with toluene, but I don't think there's any on my face.
So the biggest problem I've been running into is this Bondo. It's just all over, and it's absorbing the paint stripper, so it's not separating. And I can get it off with a lot of paint stripper, but I have to use probably twice as much, or no, it's more like 3 or 4 times more. So I can either do that and spend a few $100s, or I can burn it.
So I don't actually know what this reddish-brown film is. It was all over on top of the Bondo, and it would just smear when you heated it up, so you couldn't even scrape it. Your best bet is to just use a flap wheel on it and scrape off the Bondo itself.
This is going very quickly. Not. I didn't want to use a metal scraper because I didn't want to leave gouges in the metal, but at this point, the Bondo is more of a problem. It's like they just coated it in Bondo. And the reason I have to take it off is so I know if there's any giant holes. And it's cracking the paint.
So I don't know if I managed to get these pictures into a previous video, but here is the car before I painted it the first time, which you guys didn't see. I just kind of painted over it. There's spider cracks all over the door. Not just the door, but the whole car pretty well. So that's why I had to pull it all the way down to bare metal, because anything I put on that is just going to fall off and continue cracking through. And you'll see why.
I'm making the door bubble. That's always good. Of course not. Half an inch of Bondo. So we've uncovered a bit of an old repair for a dent or something where they drilled and pulled it out rather than doing the tacks with the little eyelets. Oh well. I can weld it in. So progress is slow for the burning. There's about a ½ inch of Bondo on there. At the deepest point anyway, there was. I'm gonna try using acetone and seeing if I can saturate it with that and then just push it off. My mask can't keep up with the smoke. It's not really designed for that anyway. Alright, let's give this a whirl, shall we? Too much? Alright, it's been like half an hour. Let's take a look. No, you either need a lot more or it's just not as effective as fire. That's too bad. Answer for me then.
So I ended up getting a heat gun, and that helped a lot. The torch, realistically, it's probably going to end up costing you more with fuel, especially if you have as much of an area to do as I did. But also, the way it delivers heat just doesn't work well. So the heat gun can spread hotter air over a wider area, and it's also not like, it doesn't, the torch has such a concentrated heat where the flame is, so you're going to end up catching stuff on fire more, or just burning the surface stuff and then not actually heating up the hole, and then what you end up doing is having to heat up basically the whole door, which just makes it warm. So heat guns recommended, but if you have a smaller area or you don't really care as much about the metal behind it, angle grinder and flat disc, please. It's going to make a huge cloud of dust. Definitely wear a respirator. I don't. The scraping it off was really my only option, I think, and you don't even see the whole thing. But I did another day. It took probably 4 hours of two of us just scraping the shit. Anyway.
Alright, let's see how far the rust takes us. That's a good sign. Smaller tool. Body filler is the devil's makeup.
So, I wanted to show you guys this. This is the disc that I was using in the video. This one, as you can see, has pretty coarse grits on it. Some of them are even more coarse. Some of them are like this, which is more like a wire wheel, but then has tar or something in it. Those ones, they're, I guess, okay at getting different contours and really rough surfaces, but they leave kind of a smear of tar when you're using them, which is super annoying. This one eats through a lot, so it's good for something that's very industrial or very thick metal. But again, these discs, they're a bit bulky, so you can only do sort of surface level stuff. This is better in that regard. This is just an 80 grit flap wheel. I can't remember if I used 80 grit or 120 in the video, but might have just been 80. This will get through the Bondo pretty fast. It'll make a lot of dust if you're doing that, so it's better for just touch-up stuff. And if you want to clean the rust on fairly smooth rust, like surface rust on sheet metal, this is probably a better way of going about it, because then it also preps the surface at the same time for the paint. Whereas this, you then have to sand again. So anyway, just wanted to show you guys that. Hopefully that's useful information for you. And let's get back to it.
Alright, so after a couple hours of chipping away, the Bondo has revealed a seam. And rather than taking a little bit of extra time and welded or brazed, in this case, a little bit extra material on and then smoothing it out just with the metal work, rather than take that little bit of extra time, they compensated with a mountain of Bondo, which would have taken them so much longer to do and more anyway, I don't know what they were thinking.
So here are some progress photos. This is before. Then this is after disassembly. This is sort of midway through the video. And then this is a little bit after where we left off in the video. By the time I repeated the process however many times and took the flap wheel to touch it up and just prepped it. So this is what it looked like right before painting. And the whole car would have looked just like this fender. Alright, that's it for this one. Next time we're going to get into metalwork, which at the time I was thinking of as a literal daily grind, and you'll get to see how that goes. And then we're going to jump into the painting finally. I may have cut out some bits, and then we're going to get to those later just so we can see the actual painting. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.